It's been 14 years since sad death of Alhaji Abubakar Rimi in 2010. As one of the original founding fathers of the PDP and a remarkable politician of his generation, as well as one of the most renowned progressive ever from the north, he's worth of a commemoration story. Abubakar Rimi was known as a flamboyant politician who later became one of the most ideological grounded governor of his generation, as well as an astute nationalist who naturally pitched his political tent with the PDP. Remi's first shot into national limelight was as a member of the 1977 Constituent Assembly, which laid the foundation of the Second Republic from 1979 to 1983. But Remi had first contested in the federal parliamentary elections of 1964 or as an independent against NEPU and MPC. His choice to run as an independent rather than with Aminu Kano's NEPU, which was popular in Kano, later came back to haunt him in a way. NEPU popularity in Kano couldn't match the state powers of MPC. Both Remi and NEPU candidates withdrew from the contest under duress. The Constituent Assembly of 1977 had names like Ozumba Mbadiwe, C.C. Onu, Ibrahim Dazuki, Olushola Saraki, Ben Nwambueze, MKO Abiola, Shehu Shagari, Sylvester Ugo, Bisi Akonde, Umaru Diko, and so on, all who became major political powerhouses in the Second Republic. At the 1977 Constituent Assembly, various political formations were informally created, and these formations became political parties eventually. Remi, as a member of the Constituent Assembly, moved closer to the radical progressive Aminu Kano group, which eventually became the People's Redemption Party, PRP. By October of 1978, PRP held a massive rally in Kano where its founder, Aminu Kano, came from. Remi, who was from Sumaila in Kano, addressed the crowd alongside Hajia Asabe Riza and SG Ikoku, former Awo ally and son of Alvan Ikoku, who once contested and defeated Alvan. PRP held its convention in the same month, and Remi emerged as deputy secretary to Ikoku as secretary, Michael Omodu as deputy president, and Aminu Kano as the national president and flag bearer of the PRP. Remi also tried to run for Kano government, but the NEPU's history outplayed him. Salisu Iliasu, an old warhorse who had been with Aminu Kano from NEPU, was chosen as the gubernatorial candidate for Kano, while Remi opted to run for Kano South Senatorial District. Fideco, as the Electoral Commission was known then, disqualified Iliasu, and Remi became the candidate. Now, if ever there was a colorful but caustic northern politics, it was Abubakar Remi. At that time, he was chosen. He was quite young and very audacious, to the point of being reckless in speech. And this man was a fine man. Check out his pictures, and he himself knew he was fine. One of his campaign slogans, as Dan Sumaila Kafi Naira Kwaiwu, which means, the man from Sumaila, you are more beautiful than the Naira. Remi was always flamboyantly dressed in flowing robes and was very eloquent in both English and Hausa. With Aminu Kano behind him, he won. Remi contested against another PDP founding fathers, Aminu Wali of the MPN, and with Abdul Danwaki Tofa as his running mate. Remi with the PRP won the election by a landslide. Remi was sworn in as governor on October 1st, 1979. By November, he and Aminu Kano had fallen out. Remi had compiled one list of commissioners, while the Kano PRP chairman, who was an original NEPU warhouse, compiled another list for commissioners. Both lists were sent to the leader Aminu Kano to harmonize, but before he could decide, Governor Remi had announced his commissioners. Kano had been wooed by Shagari MPN not to side with Awo, Zik and Waziri Ibrahim. Zik himself later pulled out and his MPP party aligned officially with MPN. Remi and Balarabe Musa as the two governors of PRP, however, choose to join Awolowo Progressive Governors Forum. Those around Kano immediately began to say that Remi was going to betray Kano by joining Awo's party. A PRP committee headed by Uche Chukwumerije soon investigated the claims and issued a warning to both governors not to attend further meetings of the forum. Chukwumerije, alongside Chinua Achebe and other nucleus intellectuals of Biafran territory, had fallen out with Zik after the Owele abandoned Biafra and rejoined Nigeria. They spawned his MPP party, which was popular in East, and joined PRP with Aminu Kano instead. Kano PRP now had three factions: the Salisu Iyasu party leadership, which had the backing of national officers like SG Ikoku, old NEPU warhouses, coalesced around Senator Bakinzuwo for patronage, and the Western educated young foes around Governor Remi. The Bakinzuwo and Iliasu factions eventually merged and began to speak publicly against Remi, and Bakinzuwo had bad mouth. He once said Remi was so narcissistic he would hold mirror every morning and say to himself, "Ayaniko Motune." Remi got Bakinzuwo suspended at the local government area party level, but Aminu Kano immediately dissolved the local government area party structure. Bakinzuwo eventually upstaged Iliasu totally from office as chairman at the Congress where Iliasu won, but thugs forcefully declared Bakinzuwo as winner. Aminu Kano had made a reference to Remi as standing on slippery ground, and the appellation Sansi was given to the Remi faction. Remi, with his caustic tongue, quickly replied that some leaders were stuck in the mud, and named Tabo also stuck to the Zuwo faction. The Remi vs Bakinzuwo clash was as much a battle of ego as it was one for ideas. All were indeed progressive, but Remi was young and wanted to move too fast for the elders who had once opposed but had now grown patient with the traditional rulers. Remi actually once wrote a query letter to the Emir of Kano, and riot broke out from MPN supporters who favored the Emir, and the Zuwo faction also joined them. One of Remi's commissioner, Dr. Bala Muhammad, was burnt along with his house in the very fierce riots. The infighting with PRP and other permutations in the national polity at large eventually led to Remi being suspended from the PRP, and he immediately declared his own faction with Michael Imodu as chairman. Fideco, however, declared the Aminu Kano faction as authentic. With elections in sight and being partyless, Remi began to shop for a political party to join. To make matters worse, Fideco insisted that any sitting governor who defected to another party will first of all vacate the office. So Remi had his deputy governor Bibi Farouk impeached. He and Lamido went back, however, and got one statesman representative from each state of the north to issue a joint statement against Abacha misrule. This group was called the G18. The G9 then convened a meeting of what became known as the G34, but should actually have been G36. One statesman representative from each of the 36 states was invited to the inaugural meeting in Lagos. Abacha, being from Kano, decided that Remi from same Kano could not go and join his opponent, and he threw him into jail. Jigawa too was carved from Kano. Lamido was also jailed. The absence of the two of them meant that only 34 members eventually made it to the meeting, and it was called G34. I once saw an original copy of the press release and it had Remi and Lamido's name, but their signature was not appended. G34 should have been G36. Remi, Lamido, and others arrested under Abacha were eventually freed when the man died. By this time, G34 transformed to the People's Democratic Party, and Remi also ran to become president against Obasanjo, Ekwueme, Tony Douglas, Philip Osiodu, and others. Remi, however, stepped down for Obasanjo. Sadly, Remi died on April 4, 2010. He was attacked alongside his wife by armed robbers while returning to Kano from a trip to Bauchi. He was not shot or harmed, but he immediately had a stroke from the shock of the incident and died some hours afterwards. Remi was a strong ideological politician, a progressive. If there is politics in the afterlife, I'm sure Remi will be in the Nigerian section, arguing and debating with other late patriots, and hopefully sitting beside his leader Aminu Kano, whom he never once insulted or spoke against, even as the battle against him raged. Remi always insisted that Aminu Kano was only being misled by those around him and who hated Remi. Dan Sumaila had a lot of haters, but he was considered in life and even in death a true friend of the oppressed masses of the North. His memory lives forever. Thank you for following up today's edition of Motherland. Please do well to like and subscribe in order to encourage us to build more content. See you on our next episode.